Once again, we're speaking with Rabbi Leib Tropper, and the subject today is, why do we need to be constantly inspired? Why do we need constant inspiration to live as Torah Jews?
The Gemara in Brachos tells us that Arba Devarim Tzrichen Chizuk, 4 things need Chizuk. One of them is Torah, Tefillah, all those things that we live with every day, Torah and davening and so on and so forth. They need Chizuk. And there is a Rabbeinu Tam writes in the Sefer HaYashar something that dispels the notion that when a person feels a discomfort or a malaise about his religious practice, it's a Yetzer Hara. Some people even tell him it's a Yetzer Hara, it's an evil inclination that's telling him, trying to sway it away from Torah. Rabbi Tam writes, this is a thing called Yemei Ahava and Yemei Sinah. Days of love and tranquility, and Yemei Sinah, days that you feel like negative. You hate things around you, you just feel that way. And he says, it's not a Yetzer Hara. It's just the way of human beings. That's how they live. We live with going from one inspiration to the next. Even someone who works in a Kavel store, also sometimes he feels down, sometimes he feels inspired. Sometimes he feels he can conquer the world, sometimes he feels he can't even pick up a cup. It's something which is very basic in human nature, whether it's Jews or non-Jews. You all go through that cycle. But we're talking about now Yidden, what do we do when we're confronted with that kind of feeling? So of course Rabbi Tam's prescription and proscription, in both, what he proscribes is that we can't abandon Torah and mitzvahs at that time. That is the test that we have, and if we're able to overcome and surmount that particular period and keep on going, even though you don't have necessarily this tremendous inspiration to do it, it will prove beneficial later on. Of course, we don't want you to have this 6 months to walk through. We're talking about a brief few days of not feeling up or inspired or ready to conquer the world in your Yiddishkeit. So for that, Rabbi Tam said, just hold on. Don't despair. It's going to come back.
It'll pass in and of itself without any active participation.
Yeah, he's saying it's a natural thing. Yemei Ahava and Yemei Sinah is part of Teva. It's nature. Nature provides those things, unfortunately, Ahava and Yemei Sinah. Now there is a letter from the Chazon Ish. He talks to somebody who has a problem, not inspired, or just doesn't feel that he has what it takes to stick with it, all the demands and even the schusim of observing Torah in a certain way, right? He doesn't feel that he has it what it takes. He's just not. So he writes a fascinating letter. In Igeres Lamed Hey, I think it is. Sorry, it's not like Ayin Lamed Hey.
Which sefer is this one?
Igeres Chazon Ish. But I used to have a seder with people and learning this sefer, and I became very familiar with many of the thoughts and ideas. So this is what he writes in Igeres Yud 17. I'm going to translate it. Kvar Yadata, you already know. Ki ish rivcha anachi. I'm your adversary. This person who he wrote it to, Rabbi Tuvi Goldstein, told me that this person, he knows who he is, and he became a Talmud Chacham Muflag, and he became somebody who was really, really a chashiv Yid. Then he goes on to say, so I'm your adversary. Ikar pluktasenu, the focus of our difference. Kiani chafetz, what do I want from you? Shetivcher b'chaim. Choose living. Piato. And what do you want? Ani chafetz, I want from you. Sheya yitzrecha maser biyadecha. Inclination should be under the control of your hand. You should decide what to do. You shouldn't be a victim or a hostage of the Yetzer Hara impulse. And what do you want? I want you to hate what's evil in the world. evil, what's so brutally evil in the world. V'ata, and what do you want? Ani chafetz sheyimamon chavecha soni l'chay. That your friend's money should be his. You shouldn't covet it. You shouldn't take it. You shouldn't want it. Ani chafetz shetem metayev esa arev l'shah. The transitory pleasures of life you should reject. I want that for you. Ve'ein achrav klum, and after it's over, just like we said last time, it's mayim maluchim. It's salt water. It's nothing afterwards. V'ata, and what do you want? And you should have adoration from the world, from people in the entire world. You should pick a chosen route. And maybe other it should be glorifying from people. What do you want? Now the Chazon Ish comes with his personal advice from depth of his neshama. You're a young bacher learning in yeshiva. You could put your future in Anshe Segula, in the chosen people, Anshe Rami Hamayla, on the most elevated plateaus of Midas and Yerushalayim. You could acquire the wisdom of Torah. You're young, your mind is fresh, your mind is curious. You could acquire Chachmas HaTorah, Oiz HaChayim, the strength of life, Alechelen, on this planet. V'hincha Shotaf, and you're swimming. You're drowning b'havelim shel chayei atzlus, in the narishkeit that's part of living with indolence, suffering from indolence. Then you go just to get involved with petty things and things that don't mean anything. And you leave the source of real life, fresh water. What is that a man has with all the effort that he works under the sun? The life, the days of man, ktsuvim, are limited. Like a dream that we have, it just disappears. Chazon Ish says to him, he begs him, now you're young. You'll be middle age, just a little bit. After that, your lot will be with the older people. And the smart men say, Ben Adam, human being, Torah human being, Azoiv nehevlecha, leave your vanity. Azoiv chatasecha, leave your sins. There's no gain at all with what you're thinking the immediate transitory would bring you. And he adds on, like the Gra says, we saw it in the Gra, and tomorrow when you're older you'll cry from what you laughed today. The frivolity and the fun that we had. And then one of the gerses in the Gra is Igeris HaGra, which does say the same exact thing. This phrase in the Igeris HaGra, there's another phrase in reverse. He says, "Ulamachar tischak," and tomorrow you'll cry. What makes you cry today will make you laugh later on. What makes you laugh now will make you cry later on. Then he adds on, he says, but listen, I know you right now you're confused. You feel totally distressed, and you feel distressed, and you feel you want to give up, and you can't do it. Every time there's consistently a battle that keeps on coming back, it goes away, it comes back. Do not think yourself as somebody who's desperate, who's just to give up. It's too difficult. The Chazon Ish says, every beginning is difficult. There's nothing that has the strength of will, conviction. Nothing has the strength of will. We don't mean will to will. We mean real conviction. We mean conviction that really speaks of will. And somebody comes to purify themselves. There's no unequivocally, he's guaranteed to have help, assistance from above. But Ikar, what is the main thing you need to have? Haskama, believe. You have to have really achlota. You have to have really decision in your heart. This is what I need to do. Don't turn back. Don't retreat. Don't retreat when you walk out and you're attacked. You feel, I can't do it. I can't do too much for me. I can't do it. No. Geda, he says, sweet is wisdom to the smart man. From honey to a palate. The palate of the fools, 1,000 times more. Meaning that for a wise man, his wisdom, closeness, is so pleasurable, more than any materialistic thing is to the fools, 1,000 times more. And as the advantage the light has over darkness, so does wisdom have over foolishness. This is the end of this letter. This person took his letter and he was just simply crying when the Chazon Ish his letter. And things turned around for him, and he became a Magachian, Talmid Chacham in a yeshiva, and Baruch Hashem has a very nice, respected family in Eretz Yisrael. An older man, and obviously. There's another important Chazon Ish, which I hope, at least Peretz, I'm talking to you and I'm talking to whoever's watching, but they should say this thing backwards and forwards over and over again. And remember this phrase of the Chazon Ish, which I'm going to say right now, by heart. Chazon Ish says like this: Nitul haneshama, Nitul hayetzer, hu nitul haneshama. The absence of impulse, of inclination, is the absence of soul. And the presence of impulse, the presence of inclination, is the presence of soul. Somebody who has a neshama, by definition, has these challenges. Absent of the neshama, then it could be absent of those challenges. Netul hayetzer hu netul haneshama. A person who is not experiencing the Yetzer is something almost like his neshama is frozen. When you're in battle, engaged in the battle of Yisrael, which is Yisrael that was fighting back and forth with the Sultan. Yisrael is a fight, right? And that's why the Malach called him Yisrael. If you're engaged in like Yisrael, which is Yaakov Avinu, if you're engaged in that, then you're alive. But if you're not engaged in that, then absent of neshama. Netul hayetzer hu netul haneshama. Rav Scheinberg, Zechron Levracha, Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Scheinberg, that's how, used to highlight a pasuk in Tehillim all the time. And he said it to him was such a truism that it wasn't even a question to discuss. He would say many times in the Shmuzin over and over again. So you see sometimes people that nobody thinks that they're going to become anything of significance in their life. And Rav Scheinberg jumps in and says, but there's a pasuk David HaMelech said about himself because he was being pursued, also looked upon that way. Even ma'asu habaynim, the stone that everybody rejects. Haisol Rosh Pina became the cornerstone of the Beis HaMikdash. You're rejected, you feel people don't look at you like a smart, intelligent young man ready to learn Torah or something else. There's a way to make it happen that Even Ma'asu Habaynim, the stone that is rejected, became and becomes the cornerstone of the Beis HaMikdash. Yiyush is the absence of simcha, it's the absence of hope, the absence of drive. Baron Kalina, Baron HaGodl, said something very, very powerful. He said, simcha in life may not be a mitzvah. Living with simcha may not be a mitzvah. But through simcha, you become the greatest mitzvahs in the world. Atzvus may not be an aveira. But atzvus delivers the worst averas in the world. So, Chazon Ish says, Al no tehi k'miyush. Don't start feeling despair. Don't give up. Don't lose your happiness. There is a story which I want to end off with because I think this is going to get people who just stop working in life. People who are working who are not necessarily learning day and night, but also sometimes feel Jewish. They feel that they're not doing the right thing. They feel that they're somewhere lopsided in the chelik and Elam Haba. They feel that they really wish to live life over again and stay in yeshiva and learn Torah. And they feel like, okay, I didn't make it. I couldn't stand, whatever. So I want to just tell you somebody's story. I want to share it with people who are viewing this. In the Seder HaDoros, written the story about Rabbi Yossi ben Elam. That's the name, Rabbi Yossi ben Elam. And Nanos HaTabach. Nanos means a midget, the midget butcher. What is that story with Nanos HaTabach and the midget and Yossi ben Elam? Rabbi Yossi ben Elam had a cholam that a shutif in Olam Haba is the midget butcher. Rabbi Yossi ben Elam, a Tana. That's all he's getting is a shutif in Olam Haba. My roommate's going to be Nanas HaTabach. I know he is. I never heard of him. If he would have been a great man, I would have heard of him. Obviously, he's not a great man. What did I do wrong? What could I be misaka? What could I do? So he found out where this supposedly Nanas HaTabach, this butcher, lives, but which city he was. And he found the city and went to some people in town and said, listen, where can I find the midget butcher? He said, why would Rabbi Yossi ben Elam, why would you want to see Nanas HaTabach? I mean, he's nothing in the community. You know how he felt when he heard that from people. He didn't want to tell them why, because that would embarrass him even more. So Rabbi Yossi ben Elam went to somebody to try to find where this Nanas HaTabach lives. So somebody says, I was just passing his house. It's on top of a hill. So he went on top of the hill, they walked. And already Rabbi Yossi ben Elam is kind of starting to cry, like to himself. What did I do? I mean, why do I deserve this? I mean, he knocks on the door, and this midget butcher answers the door. He says, I'm Rabbi Yossi ben Elam. Why are you coming to me? Tana, can I speak to you for a minute? As he's all choked up, he said, can I speak to you for a minute? He says, sure. He says, tell me, what good things do you do? Do you go to shul, daven, you learn? He says, I really can't read well. First of all, my eyes are a problem. Second of all, I never learned how to pronounce the words properly 100%, so I can't read well. So basically, his stomach is kind of sunk down from just, impossible. And then he said, do you give a lot of tzedakah? He says, unfortunately, I don't have that much money to give. He said, are you oisik b'tzorchei tzibur and chesed? He says, I really don't have the time. Nanas HaTabach just couldn't take him, so he burst out crying, and he yells to him. He says, tell me something good that you do. What do you do during the day that's good? So I don't know if you consider it good, but I'll tell you what I do. You see in that room, my father laying in bed. He's sick. I feed him, I clean him, I walk with him, I tell him stories. I read with him again, I tell him stories, I feed him, I talk to him, make him feel good. I give him a massage on his back every day. I just make him feel good over and again. I'm repeating it. And as he's talking, Yossi ben Elam, Hischel, Ahoyred Demois, he started bringing real tears down his eye. And then he said, Ashrei, lucky, blessed am I, Shechelkecha Chelki, that I'm sharing. You and I are sharing Olam Haba. There's much opportunity in life for everybody to be zeichet to such tremendous Olam Haba that parallels Yossi ben Elam's. Look at somebody who was a butcher, a midget butcher. He wasn't somebody who was a Talmid Chacham. Admittedly, he couldn't read. But who knows? Those people are oisik in the chesed, in kindness, in kibbud avayim, mitzvahs and maisim tovim. Doesn't have to be loud. Doesn't have to be on a microphone. It just has to be done b'leiv shalom. But the whole, giving up his life for those mitzvahs to him, his goals and his priority in his life is kibbud avayim. To the extent that it's mamish, really, maybe even more than he has to do. That, Yossi ben Elam said, blessed am I that I share the portion of Olam Haba with you together. I'm proud that you're my roommate. I just want to end off telling you what the Arizal writes in the Shara Kabbanas Perek Shishi. It's frightening, but it's also inspiring. Very inspiring. He says, actually, Reb Chaim Vital wrote this. Reb Chaim Vital asked him, how we considered Madrega today. We have Yetzer Hara, we have all kind of things going on in life. We have not the same Madrega as at Tanoim. So what Madrega are we on? One would never guess what the Rizal would say. This is about his time. Imagine our time. The Rizal said, the Madrega of the people today who are Shem Mitzvahs is 10 times greater than the Tanoim and the Maraim. 10 times greater because of the challenging nisyanis, tribulations that are confronted with so hard. For a woman to walk with a shaitel today in the street is an insight. For a woman to go and, mechanech children, not necessarily to pursue only secular studies, but to learn Torah is the most important thing, and to imbue them with that feeling, sense of the priorities of Ruchnius. That's the Arizal's time, 10 times. I don't know, I'm scared to say how many times we must be greater if we could overcome temptations and things that grab us to do other things. So, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help us all, that we should really be inspired just by the fact that we know what's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Zakas Yisrael, the Eibishter wants to always give us opportunities to do great things, wonderful things, fascinating things. Doesn't matter if you're a godly B'Yisrael, which is a big Kavod HaTorah, or if you're just a Yid who's sincerely being Oved Hashem and just trying to feel good about yourself, then you should feel good about yourself, very proud of yourself. You and Nanas HaTabuch and Rabbi Yosef ben Elam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Leib Tropper, for those inspiring words and giving us the inspiration of the Chazon Ish to give us all chizuk.
Thank you.